And so I begin again about this part called proportion, which is very difficult, as you will see. Maybe it won't be for you. And this time I've gotten where you can see the entire print. I'm sorry about that last one. Okay. The objective observer, bound by the rule of proportion in the examination of the existent universe, discovers both an organized universe and a universe in chaos, rational and irrational numbers, beauty and ugliness, love and hate, pleasure and pain, harmony and discord, sanity and insanity, truth and falsity. These descriptions are merely proportional effects of opposition and the other principles of Summum. The objective observers within this universe see harmony expressed by these emotions, feelings, and characteristics present within themselves. This harmony is viewed within nature and the universe as the divine proportion. Although the proportions seem to be fixed in nature, they are not. The only reason they seem fixed is because they are fixed within the observer's mind. These fixed mental vibrations dictate the observer's likes and dislikes, happiness and sadness. They also dictate one's sense of pleasure and pain, beauty and ugliness, love and hate, truth and falsity, resulting in one being captive of these memories fixed by both body and mind. For if the observer were to view nature from an altered state of consciousness, the proportion would also be altered. From a quantum viewpoint, multiple fields of consciousness are viewed simultaneously. If you could behold the consciousness of both a snail and a human simultaneously, you would realize that pieces of gravel are as boulders to snails, but pebbles to humans. Times and lengths, space-time and mass are all altered in proportion when the body concerned is in motion relative to the observer. In other words, moving bodies appear to be altered in terms of their shape, size, and speed, depending on your viewpoint. Apparent increase of mass in swiftly moving particles has been observed. For example, when an electron is accelerated, it appears to gain mass. Einstein's special theory of relativity embodies the mathematical essence of proportion and the interrelationships of the principles of Summum. An altered state of consciousness makes a quantum leap beyond any fixed state of observation, demonstrating that the divine proportion is also subject to the law of paradox and only partial truth. Now here, this is a little difficult, and the way I dealt with this is I didn't quite understand it, but I read it several times and then went on, even though this is difficult. The divine proportion ascribed to the collective consciousness of your state of evolution has been expressed for of three magnitudes, if the greatest, let me move this down, A, B, and there's A, there's B. If the greatest, AB, is to the mean, CB, as the mean, CB, is to the least, AC, they therefore all shall be one. Now, look at this little diagram, and I will read that one more time. That's the diagram right there. The divine proportion ascribed to the collective consciousness of your state of evolution has been expressed for of three magnitudes. If the greatest A, B, nothing to possibility, is to the mean CB, as the mean CB is to the least AC, they therefore all shall be one. Now take some time and just work with that in your mind. Maybe you'll understand it, and if you do, put it in a comment, please, because I didn't get it. Not really, but I've moved on, and I think eventually it will come to me what that really means. Probably because I don't understand phi. I never have, but I will someday, and this involves that, so I will start reading again. Modern science calculates the joining and splitting apart of string proportions, events, as the source of creation. The elementary particles observed by science represent excitation modes of strings. This leaves us with the question, what creates the strings? It is the subjective copulation of nothing and possibility that produces these vibrating string proportions in all their modes of excitation. As mentioned before, creation cannot be examined in its source objectively, for it requires a philosophical examination. Any examination in a material form is limited by time-based dimensional space, and creation's manifestation is infinitely dimensional. At this point, it is left up to the student to fill in the details of their understanding of the mathematics of the divine proportion, also known as the golden section, phi, the magic ratio, the additive series, etc. There is available plentiful published material which, when investigated by the student, will initiate them to an understanding of the divine proportion. The divine proportion can be found throughout this universe, from the swirls of galaxies to the swirls of quarks, from the harmony of music to the very physical nature of creation. The divine proportion is seen as the beauty and organization in nature, the harmony and glue holding the unity of the universe. This beauty is the quality or combination of qualities which affords keen pleasure to the senses, especially that of sight, or that which charms the intellectual faculties. The states of discord, insanity, and chaos in the universe are observations of states seemingly opposed to the accepted divine proportion. Yet this is a singularly human point of view, for within chaos is found organization. Within the irrational is found the irrational. Within ugliness is found beauty. Within hate is found love. Within pain is found pleasure. Within discord is found harmony. Within insanity is found sanity. Within falsity is found truth. In reality, all discord and chaos are human judgments of their perception of a state of consciousness in opposition to the divine proportion. Death and dissolution may appear as states of discord, and from the point of the fixed mind, seem out of harmony. The masters are not bound by these judgments which restrict the normal human being, for they have set themselves free from the lower law of a single viewpoint and observe existence from a quantum viewpoint within the same moment. The masters freely observe Summum, unencumbered by the constraints of the fixed mind. The construct of proper time in each personal self-perspective, the individual, and the collective viewpoint, humankind, accounts for the universal acceptance of this divine proportion. This construct is seen as a narrow single viewing point from which only a small portion of the total can be observed. It is the frame of reference from which observations are made and by which the divine proportion is identified. But as the frame of reference, consciousness, expands, so does the divine proportion or observation thereof expand. For as all manifest things evolve, so do the proportions of the divine proportion evolve. As the mental vibrations of those examining creation change, so does the divine proportion change. An understanding of the relationship of proportion to the 7 principles of Summum will enable the student to master the principles. That's becoming a little more clear. Now, this is psychokinesis. Mind, as well as metal and elements, may be altered psychokinetically from state to state, degree to degree, proportion to proportion, condition to condition, point to point, vibration to vibration. Psychokinesis is mental mastery. Summum. Alchemists, astrologers, parapsychologists, and psychologists have always existed. From the art of ancient astrology has grown astronomy. From alchemy, modern chemistry. And esoteric psychology has evolved into the modern institutes of psychology. Do not assume that the ancients were ignorant of that which modern institutions presume to be their exclusive and special property. The hieroglyphs of ancient Egypt show irrefutably that the ancients had a thorough knowledge of these sciences. The very design of the pyramids is a study in astronomical science. The ancients also had an understanding of chemistry, for the remnants of the ancient writings show a familiarity with the chemical properties of elements. Modern science is verifying the ancient theories regarding physics through mathematics and experimentation. Ancient references indicate a vibratory nature behind all phenomena. Today, modern science regards the theory of matter and energy being formed from vibrations as fact. In addition, do not assume that the ancients were naive of the supposed modern discoveries in psychology. The ancients were skilled in the science of psychology, especially that of parapsychology, an area most modern institutes ignore. The fact is that in addition to the understanding of physical science, the ancients enjoyed a knowledge of transcendental astronomy, called astrology, of transcendental chemistry, called alchemy, of transcendental psychology, called parapsychology. They enjoyed the esoteric knowledge as well as the exoteric knowledge, while modern science only subscribes to the exoteric. Among the many branches of knowledge possessed by the ancients, that known as psychokinesis is the subject matter of this chapter. Transmutation and alchemy are terms normally employed to designate the ancient art of the alteration of metals, particularly that of changing the base metals into gold. Transubstantiation refers to the changing of one substance into another. The word psychokinesis means the ability to influence, alter events, or change one form, species, condition, nature, or substance into another by mental processes. Therefore, psychokinesis is the art of changing mental states, forms, and conditions into others. Psychokinesis is the art of mental chemistry, of parapsychology, especially in its aspect of study termed mind over matter. This is of greater significance than you can imagine. Psychokinesis, alchemy, or chemistry are important enough in their physical effects upon the mental field, but it must be realized that their effects are also felt at the spiritual level. The first of these 7 Summum principles is the principle of psychokinesis, the axiom of which is Summum is mind. The universe is a mental creation. It means that the underlying essence of the universe is mind, and the universe itself is mental, that is, existing in the mind of Summum. This principle shall be considered in succeeding chapters, but for now, the effect of the principle can be examined if you assume it to be fact. If creation is mental in its nature, then psychokinesis must be the art of changing the conditions of the universes in their fields of space-time, matter, force, and mind, affecting the quantum potential. This psychokinesis is really the magic of which the ancient writers had so much to say in their mystical works, and about which they gave so few practical instructions. If all is mental, then the art which empowers one to alter mental conditions must also render the master the controller of material conditions, as well as those ordinarily called mental. Only the advanced masters of psychokinesis have been able to attain the degree of power necessary to control the grosser physical conditions, such as the control of the weather, the production or cessation of tempests, earthquakes, and other physical phenomena. These perfections, known as supranatural powers, are attained through spiritual evolution. Masters of these perfections attain a level of spirituality which allows them to sever the normal bonds with which the focus of nature bind humankind. The forces of nature bind humankind. In control of the forces of nature, the masters are empowered to know the minds of others, break the bonds of light, and thus to disappear, overcome the force of gravity, and levitate, see into the heart of atoms, etc. Such human types have existed and do exist today. Students have witnessed the author of this work psychokinetically altering nature, and have written testimonials to the fact of this phenomena. The masters do not make public exhibitions of their powers, but seek seclusion from the crowds in order to better work their way along the path of evolution. For the masters have evolved to these powers through many incarnations wherein they work to develop the potential within their will. These powers are entirely mental and operate along the fields of higher mental function under the Summum principle of psychokinesis. The universe is mental. Summum. The students of lesser degree than masters, the initiates and teachers, are able to freely work along the mental fields with psychokinesis. In fact, all that is named psychic phenomena, mental influence, mental science, New Age phenomena, etc., operates along the same general fields, for there is but one principle involved, regardless of what name the phenomena is called. The students and practitioners of psychokinesis work among mental fields, altering mental conditions and states according to various mental practices. The popular and diverse subliminals, affirmations, and refutations utilized by the current and predominant discipline of mental science are but formulas, quite imperfect and unscientific. The majority of modern practitioners are uneducated compared to the very few masters, for they lack the components of the knowledge upon which the work is based. They refuse to put forth the effort and work necessary to attain the knowledge of its entirety. These individuals lack an appetite for the knowledge and thus do not hunger or thirst for it. Unable to hold their attention on the knowledge, they remain preoccupied with the self-interest of their personalities. Not only may the mental states of oneself be changed by psychokinesis, the states of others may be, and are constantly, altered in the same way. Among the masses, these changes occur for the most part unconsciously. But when one understands the laws and principles, the change is often a conscious one. The mental states of people who are not informed of the principles are extremely easy to affect. Many students and practitioners of modern mental science know that every material condition which depends upon the state of mind of other people and the masses, upon the state of mind of other people may be altered. These alterations are in accordance with the earnest desire and will of the master and the masses. For one is doing the altering, and the other one desires the alteration. The purpose at this point is merely to show the principle and art underlying all of these various forms of practice, good and evil, for the force may be used in opposite directions according to the principle of opposition. The principle of psychokinesis has been stated so that all who read may possess the master key that will unlock the many doors to the principle of opposition. Now, I just want to interject a little bit. I knew a person who said he was a chemist, but not really. He mixed formulas together, and so his classification was that he was a chemist. But he didn't know why he mixed them together, and he didn't know how to make those formulas work if he had to do it from the beginning. He just followed instructions. So he was called a chemist, and he had a certain reputation, and, he basked in that reputation. Oh, I'm a chemist, but not really. And so that is what I'm thinking this is like. A lot of people are using psychokinesis, but not understanding it fully. Me, I don't know that I use it. Maybe I am, but I do desire to understand more fully, because I realize that people just have a stopping point where they, no, that's enough. This is all I need, and they don't go further. But I want to go as far down the rabbit hole as I can go, as I am able to. Okay, back. Number 6. Under and behind the universe of space-time and change is the substantial essence, creation's copulation, summum. Substantial means real, actual, true, not imaginary. Essence means that which makes something what it is, intricate, intrinsic, fundamental nature, or most important quality. Within the esoteric, under and behind all outward appearances or expressions, there must always be a substantial essence. This is the law. Concerning the universe of which you are a unit, you see nothing but change in matter, forces, and mental states. You see that nothing really is, but that everything is becoming and changing. Nothing stands still. Everything is born, grows, and dies. The very instant anything reaches its height, it begins to decline. The law of rhythm is in constant operation. There is no consistent reality, no enduring quality, no fixity, no substantiality in anything. Nothing is permanent but change. You observe all things evolving from other things and resolving into other things. A constant action and reaction, inflow and outflow, building up and tearing down, creation and destruction, birth and death. Nothing endures but change. If you are a thinking person, you realize that all of these changing things must be but outward appearances or expressions of some underlying power, some substantial essence. All thinkers in all lands for all times have assumed the necessity for postulating the existence of this substantial essence. All philosophies worthy of the name have been based upon this thought. People have given to this substantial essence many names. Some have called it by the term of deity under many titles. Others have called it the infinite eternal energy. Others have called it love, but all have acknowledged its existence. It is self-evident. It needs no argument. It is looked for in the questions, where did I come from? Why am I here? How did God come into being? Where did the universe come from? This book follows the examples of the masters by identifying this underlying power, this substantial essence which emanates from the bonding of nothing and possibilities. With the names